Welcome back to another episode of the Trauma Queen podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Auer. And today we're going to be talking about why so many people don't ever fully heal from their trauma. I think the reason that most people never fully heal from their trauma is, one, they're afraid to do a lot of the things that they need to do in order to actually heal. So a lot of people are hesitant to actually go back into the memories, which is one of the key components to actually healing from trauma. The second reason is that people are very uneducated, or there is a lot of misinformation out there in the industry. There's a lot of people telling you that you actually don't have to go into your trauma in order to heal it, telling you that, you know, this one modality, whether it be somatics or energy healing or whatever it is, they'll be telling you that this is the one solution. This is the thing that can heal your trauma. And people get fixated on that one thing, hoping and praying that it's going to work for them and it's going to be the solution, only to find that it's only really focusing on one part of healing their trauma. And then what happens is they start to get disheartened. And they start to think that nothing's going to work for them, and they give up and they stop trying. And this is where, I guess, to me, people who heal and people who don't heal are essentially the ones that don't give up, because there were so many times where I felt like why isn't this working for me? Why do I still have a dysregulated nervous system? Or why am I still having flashbacks? Like, what's wrong? Why aren't these things working? But I never gave up. I was always thinking, there has to be more. There has to be something else. What else can I try? What's next? And I think that attitude, as well as obviously knowing the tools and knowing and getting good advice, and that's obviously why you're here on this podcast, but as well as knowing where to go and what to do and how to actually heal it in a logical sense, there is also this mindset. And there has to be this mindset of, I'm not going to give up until I have healed. I see so many women who, as I said, have actually been doing therapy. They think that they've been doing something that is good for them, or they think that they've been trying to heal. But again, they've been given misinformation about what it actually takes in order to heal. And I think that this often comes from the fact that we have a lot of people in the trauma healing industry who actually haven't healed their own trauma. And I have been this person in the past that has said, you know, this is what it takes to heal your trauma, or, you know, you can do X, Y, Z and you're going to heal, not knowing even in myself that there was more layers, there were more things that I needed to do to heal. And so I think so many of us can get stuck in just trying one way to heal. And that is, whether that be hypnotherapy, whether that be EMDR, whether that be subconscious work, whether that be somatics, whether that just be energy, something like energy healing. A lot of people will, because they've been told that it's the miracle solution, focus on one aspect. When this is where I discovered over time that all four of these pillars have to be met in order for us to actually heal. So often people are doing things like talk therapy, or they're doing things like energy work, or they're doing some sort of mindset work in order to heal their trauma. Now, talk therapy is done in a beta brainwave. So if you think about your brain, you need to be in a certain brainwave in order to access your subconscious. And your subconscious is where trauma is healed. Essentially, it's where trauma is stored, and it's where trauma is healed. Now, if you're doing talk therapy every week, you're never accessing a deeper brainwave like a theta brainwave. You are doing this talk therapy in a beta brainwave. This explains why so many women go to talk therapy and they talk about the same thing each week, and they potentially every month or every few months, they have these light bulb moments where they realize a pattern or a behavior, or realize that they've been doing something, and they become consciously aware of it. But what happens is, because they're in the incorrect brainwave, they forget very quickly. Nothing is actually being changed in their brain. Nothing is actually being changed in their patterning in their subconscious mind. So what's happening is they're talking about it. And don't get me wrong, talk therapy can be really good. Talk therapy, you know, you go in, and if you don't have other people to speak to in your life about things that are going on, you're holding a lot of that in. So talk therapy is a really good way to go in and unpack and speak about what's happening for you, what's coming up for you. You can bounce ideas and you can say, this thing's happening. Is this my fault? Is this them? Is it my trigger? You can really start to unpack things in those talk therapy sessions and feel a level of validation, but it doesn't change anything to do with the source of where that trauma came from. Like, you can figure out your pattern and that pattern still won't change unless you're going into the subconscious. So a lot of women have been, and this isn't your fault. This isn't, people who are looking for help, who are going to talk therapy, like, they're actively trying to get help. It really comes to society. It really comes to our government, to our system saying, this is the only way. This is the way to heal. This is, if you've got mental health issues, you go to a psychologist. And we're following this framework that we're given from our government and that society follows, when in reality, there's so many ways that our government have failed us across the years. Couldn't even get me started on that subject. But there are so many ways that the system is backwards. And something that I always think about is we have more psychologists than ever, and mental health in Australia and across the world really is worse than it's ever been. So what we've been doing hasn't been working, and we need to try something different. So many women come to me after years of trying either a decade plus of talk therapy alone or of trying other modalities. So there are women out there, probably like you, who are actively looking to get better. And similar to myself, you're trying all the things. Now, there's women who come to me that have gone down the path of somatics, and they have really started to heal on a cellular level. They've started to become in their body. They've started to heal their nervous system. They're comfortable with like feeling and expressing emotions, but they're still having flashbacks. They're still having these negative beliefs about themselves. They haven't actually done anything visually or on their subconscious mind. And then I see women coming to me who say that they have tried all of the things. And when we actually get to talking about what they've tried, the things that they have actually tried aren't actually things that are going to move the needle. And what I mean when I say that is they're reading books, amazing, so good. Reading books, educating yourself, like, is amazing. But again, you're learning it, but you're not implementing it. And if you're not implementing it, it's because it's not being changed in your subconscious. It's because you still have triggers, you still have memories, you still have flashbacks. Your body still thinks that the threat is current. Reading a book isn't going to change that, in the same way that mirror affirmations and mindset work and, just repeating something positive over and over and over. I don't know how many thousand times there is a number out there, but it has been scientifically proven that it takes thousands and thousands of times for you to repeat something out loud and in your mind for it to actually make any impact on your subconscious mind. What we do in sessions is we shift subconscious beliefs instantly. And so again, coming back to a lot of the time when you're repeating your mantras and when you're doing this mindset work and you're reading these books, you're not in your subconscious mind. You're not absorbing the information. You're not taking it on. So this is why I created Aruka therapy. This is why it took me 15 years to figure out what actually causes deep, lasting healing. And I thought when I found each one of these different types of healing, or these 4 pillars of healing, that they were the solution. So when I found breath work, I was like, this is the missing piece. This is what it takes to heal. We have to be tapped into our body. We have to express our emotions. We have to somatically experience. And then when I found hypnosis or hypnotherapy or belief work, I thought that was the solution. I kept struggling. I kept coming up against more issues each time. And it wasn't until probably 5 or 6 years ago that I realized that there are 4 pillars to healing and that you actually need to cover off all 4 of them in order to actually truly heal. It wasn't the fact that, and other women have realized this along their journeys. They've realized that the hypnotherapy didn't work, or the belief work didn't work for me, but the breath work worked, or the subconscious or the somatics worked. And some might say the somatics did nothing for me, but EMDR or memory processing was amazing. That's what changed my life. And the pattern that I found is that women who were healing were pinning their healing on the last thing that they did, when in actual fact, once I questioned them, they had actually gone through all of these 4 pillars, and it was just the last of the 4 pillars that they needed to tick off to make it work. So these 4 pillars are, and I've mentioned them already, these 4 pillars are the subconscious mind. So working on the subconscious mind, the subconscious beliefs, your belief systems about who you are and how the world works. The second pillar is energetics. So energetics and emotions kind of move across the energetic category and somatics, but energetics and emotions is shifting old energy and old emotions that you're storing within your physical and energetic body. The third pillar is somatics. So somatics again crosses over in emotions, in that somatics is coming back into your human body and feeling whatever it is that you haven't been able to feel, but also moving your body in a way that it wasn't able to move in past situations. So for instance, in sessions, this can look like women who were, held down or feeling like they were trapped, like pushing somebody off of them or running, or they just might want to move their body. They might want to shake. It's really tuning into the body and how the body wants to move in order to process something that has passed. And the fourth part of this is memory processing. So actually processing the visual memories of the visual traumatic memories that people have. So what I find is that people are covering maybe 1 or 2 and then giving up, and they're not realizing that all 4 of these pillars need to be addressed at one time in one healing session. And this is why it took me 15 years to heal, because I was working through all of my trauma purely at a belief level until I discovered that I needed to be working on them at an energetic and emotional level. And then I was still struggling, and then I realized you had to work on them at a somatic and nervous system level. Then I realized that you had to visually process those memories. So it took me a while personally to go through and realize that all 4 of these pillars need to be ticked off. And now this is what I do within a session with clients, and this is what Aruka therapists do, is they take you through all of those 4 pillars within one session within each memory. So for what this looks like is they're going to take you into a memory to visually process it, so processing the memory. They're also going to know how to tap in and shift and move energy and emotions linked to that memory. They're going to be looking at the subconscious beliefs that you have that were created as a result of that memory about who you are, or about the world around you, or about other people, whether it's safe to trust other people, things like that. And then they're going to encourage you to move to get that energy out of your body in a somatic way. But also, somatics for me comes down to what you wanted to say and what you needed to say. So a lot of our trauma healing is done out loud with actual words, not in our mind, which is where a lot of other modalities, again, fall short. You can have beautiful inner child healing conversations in your mind, but something magical happens when you do this out loud, when you speak those words out loud. And this is where we're pairing the somatics of verbalizing something, because words have power, of verbalizing something whilst we're in our subconscious mind, whilst we're in the correct brainwave. Pairing those 2 things together, the subconscious goes, yep, this feels now like it really happened. I really did stand up for myself. I took my power back, and I can believe now that I'm powerful because I said those things out loud. I visualized it. I experienced it. So it's this experience of actually incorporating the emotions, physical sensations, and movement whilst in the correct brainwave. That together is actual magic. This is why people say that this work is magic. Like, that combination is magic, and there isn't anybody else out there in the industry that I know that is doing this. And this is why Aruka therapy has become so powerful, because we are literally healing from every single one of these pillars in each session, in each memory as we go. So if you, for instance, didn't heal on all 4 of these pillars, if you just focused on one of them, this is what I did. This is how I spent 15 years trying to heal. The risk with not going to somebody who knows about these 4 pillars and can help you to heal with these 4 pillars is that you're potentially going to lose hope when that one thing doesn't work. If you are just using breath work and somatics and, you're feeling these shifts and you're purging these emotions and you're feeling good for a short period of time, what happens is slowly you fall back into the same habits. And the reason that this happens is if I take somatics, I can use any as an example, but if I take somatics as the example, you come into your body, you feel your emotions, you scream, you cry, you let it all out, but you haven't processed the memories and you haven't changed the subconscious beliefs. So over the course of the next couple of weeks, you are unconsciously being triggered. Sounds, smells, places, words, whatever it is unconsciously going to trigger you. That's going to cause an emotional reaction. It's going to cause some negative thoughts about yourself or about life. It's going to then cause emotions that link into that, and you're going to start to build those emotions back up in your body. It's all good and well to do the somatics. It's all good and well to feel the emotions and to process them. But if you're not healing the root cause of where they actually came from, those emotions will build up again. And this is where we find, I find people who are, I want to call it addicted to emoting because they're going to breath work every week or every fortnight and they're screaming and crying and getting all these emotions out. And they're like, more and more emotions just keep coming. And it's like, yeah, they keep building up because there's actually more to healing than just this one pillar. And this is the same again, and I did this in reverse in that I was working on memory processing in the subconscious. That was it. It was all brain. It was all, where does this thought come from? What's the belief? What memory does it link back to? I'll process that. And I did all of that, which is actually pretty impressive, for about 8 or 9 years without ever having to feel any emotions because I was so disconnected from my body and emotions. And even though I wasn't having flashbacks and even though I was having in my mind, I was like, everything's good, my body was still going through fight or flight. My body was still, my nervous system was dysregulated and I was still getting visceral triggering myself back into fight or flight and experiencing all of these same symptoms of trauma like panic and anxiety and fear and all of these emotions because I had not tapped into the emotions. And I actually used belief work and I actually used memory processing to bypass having to feel anything, because having to feel those uncomfortable emotions like sadness and grief and fear, I just didn't want to go there. So I continued to struggle until I discovered somatics, until I discovered nervous system regulation, until I discovered the importance of releasing emotion and the energy that surrounds those emotions. There's not a risk in that you aren't going to heal, but you're going to heal. It's going to take so much longer. It's going to take like a decade plus if you end up finding all of those pillars. And this is where so many people are coming to me and the women in the online clinic saying, I can't believe how much of a shift I feel in one session. And this is because they have potentially been trying things that are only covering one pillar of healing. So you can flip this concept any way. Again, you can visually process the memories, but if you haven't felt the emotions or shifted the subconscious beliefs, you're still going to be pulled back into that trauma. It has to come from these 4 pillars if you actually want to heal correctly and fully to be able to actually move forward in your life. So these 4 pillars work together to create results, because other methods are only focusing on one aspect of either our human or our soul or reality. If you go to a belief worker, they are only looking at you from the perspective of somebody with a subconscious mind. If you're going to somebody who's processing memories and just processing memories, they're looking at trauma only from the lens of memory processing. And they're not looking at or understanding trauma from a lens of the body or the nervous system or energetically, even at a soul level. So same thing if you're going to an energy worker, and energy workers love, and I love energy workers. I love, spiritual people, but a lot of the time they're almost doing damage because they are getting their clients to come in and they're telling them that we can heal your trauma with energy work. And they're shifting and moving energy through this person's body, and this person might, again, have some emotional release, or they might feel some weightlessness or some lightness lifted from them. But what's happening is that energy is building back up. They're actually not changing anything. Energy work for me is the pillar that has to be integrated across all of these. And then it's the same thing with somatics, with nervous system. If you're only focusing on one of these pillars, you're robbing yourself of time. You're robbing yourself of so much time when there is now ways to heal on all 4 levels at once. I still am surprised every time that I work with these 4 pillars, when I use the Aruka method with my clients, and when my students start practicing, starting their own businesses and using this Aruka method. It's one of those things where I still can't believe that I figured this out. I still can't believe that this is where all of these years of healing led me to. I am this paradox of, I'm sitting here telling you that this is what you need, and it sounds like it's obvious, but at the same time, I am still blown away by every single client who heals. I have this split of, I know you're going to heal because we've cracked the code. Like, I understand now how healing works at such a deep level. I have evidence of thousands of people that have healed, but then also this is actual magic. And this other side of me that's like, people saying, oh my gosh, I've left my toxic relationship finally, or I'm not having nightmares anymore, or my life is completely changed now, and still so excited and surprised by those results. I'm always falling between of course, that's just what happens when you heal correctly, and also this is magic. This is amazing. This is amazing work. And it's amazing that I've discovered this and that myself and my community get to give this to people. And I know that all of the women that work for me in the online clinic feel the same way. They are just so, they know that the shifts are going to happen, but it's still so amazing watching it happen every single time. And I feel so grateful that I get to give to you and to the people that are in my world and the people that are coming to me as clients this gift of time, because at the end of the day, the most important thing in life is time. We are all conscious of time. We're all afraid of losing time. We're afraid of our time running out. Time is precious. And what we're giving people with this healing is time back. It took me 15 years to figure this out. Once I did, it was like this light bulb that I've then taken into my practice, and I have now helped other people in 1/10 of the amount of time heal what I've been through. And they've come up to where I'm at, to the level that I'm at, to feeling what I'm feeling, experiencing what I'm experiencing using this method. So I feel like we have given people this gift of time, of giving them back their life. I wish that I had have known about this in the beginning. And obviously my journey was to uncover it. Obviously I had to go deep into each of these fields, study each of these things intensely and research in order to uncover this method and to uncover it. But I think that I do wish that I had found this earlier, because I did spend a lot of time going to therapists and feeling a little bit better, and then going back into a very dark hole and thinking this didn't work. And I can relate if you're feeling and I have clients message me or people message me on social media all the time saying, I'm too scared to try because I've tried so many other things and I was so sure that they were going to be the thing that worked, and they weren't. And now I've just lost all hope. And I can really relate to that feeling, because what someone would say to me, there's this thing called brain spotting or EMDR, or, this new type of healing that's supposed to heal trauma. And I would be so excited and I would research it and I would have my sessions, and then I would leave and I would feel better. and then I would feel worse again, or something else would come up, or it would only last for a short period of time. It just got me really disheartened and really low. And each time something didn't work, I would fall darker the next time, because it would be like, now what am I going to try? Like, I've literally tried everything. And this is where a lot of people who are listening are at. And this is where a lot of women who reach out to me are at. And it's hard for me on the other side to say to them, oh, like, this is different, just give it a try, because everybody has said to them, this is different, just give it a try, right? So it really is hard at the moment to set myself and Aruka apart from that, because I know where you've been, and I remember being in that dark hole, and I remember thinking, oh, this is just the next big thing, like, but it's not actually going to work for me. It's not going to be the thing. But when I actually look back, I think, well, it's because each of those things were only focusing on one pillar at one time. Nothing does all four pillars at one time. And so I guess I want to say to you that, I wish I could go back, and I wish that I could experience this now. But as I said, I think that I was meant to go through that long, hard journey to realize that it didn't have to be that long and hard, so that I could bring something else to the world and to people who are suffering with a lot of trauma that actually works. And I know that there are a lot of people out there thinking like, yes, okay, like as I just said, I have tried everything and nothing works, and I feel better for a little bit and then I feel worse again. And I would say to you, I completely understand. I remember that. I remember that feeling. I remember being there thinking nothing is going to work. And why? Like, why do I keep going in circles? And the reality is you're not actually going in circles. We're always moving forwards, even when we think we're moving backwards. Sometimes I say to people, if things are coming back up, it's because you're going deeper, not backwards. You're going deeper into a deeper layer of yourself, into deeper trauma. But I think the thing that I would want to say to you is, I know that maybe it sounds like we're promising what everybody else has promised you. And we're saying, we're different. We've got the solution. We're the people that can heal all your trauma. And you've heard it all before. But if you don't believe us, I just want you to try it. Not for me, for you. I want you to try it for you. I want you to try it so that you can collapse time, so that you can experience healing, and in a fraction of the time that it took me to heal. Because the way that I've healed to get to where I am, and I was in a really bad place. Like, most of my life I was suicidal. Most of my life I just was in this darkness. Everything felt dark, looked dark. I didn't want to be here. I was afraid of everything. I was constantly triggered. I was panicked. I was just basically surviving. And I can't remember where I was going with that. I wish that I had something like this. I wish something like this had have existed. And again, I feel so grateful that I now get to give that to people. So if you are sitting there on the fence thinking, this is just another modality, I would challenge you as well to go and look at other modalities and for yourself research. Do they cover the four pillars? Does that modality cover the four pillars, or is it just working on one of them, or maybe two of them? And I have done this research. Anytime a new modality comes out or somebody sends it to me, I look at it and I'm like, that essentially at the bottom of it is regulating the nervous system. That one is just memory processing. Oh, they're doing memory processing and a little bit of belief work. They're doing inner child work and whatever. Like, I can look at these modalities and what they're teaching now and understand that they're what it is at a base level that they're doing, because at a base level, every trauma healing is doing the same thing, but they're just doing potentially one pillar of it. So really starting to evaluate what the therapies are that you're doing, whether they're working on the subconscious, whether they're actually processing traumatic memories, whether they're actually somatically experiencing moving, whether it's moving the trauma out of the body, whether there's emotions that are being released. These all need to be happening in sync at once. So looking at which modality you're looking at and whether it actually does any of those things. So if you are curious about Aruka, if you are like, okay, I'm going to give it a crack, I'm going to give it a try, the best place to start is with one of the therapists in the online clinic. I created an online trauma clinic because of this reason, because I wanted people to be able to experience it and try it at an affordable price. And to be honest, my prices aren't affordable anymore. I don't do that much one-on-one work because I'm doing podcasting and teaching and all the things. And out of 120, 130 students that I've taught over the last 5 years, these 6 women in the clinic were the ones who they've either been around the longest and they've been practicing and they have just been making waves with this therapy, or they have been the students that I have really eyed off and thought she's got it. She understands it. She gets it. She is going to absolutely kill it. And so I've brought them in. I have done additional training with them. So additional training in sexual trauma, complex trauma, PTSD, personality disorders. Like, they are so ready to deal with the heaviest of heavy. And I created the clinic so that they're accessible, they're available for people who need that. So looking on my website at jessicaella.com.au and going into one-on-one work and looking at those therapists, there's videos there that you can watch where you can get to know them, learn about them, get to, vibe their personalities and pick who's the best suited for you. But there is help available and they are so ready to help you. So this is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week.